How good was Bobby Kennedy Jr.? I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is firing every member of a government panel that makes vaccination recommendations.
I am more worried than I have ever been about the United States' vulnerability to infectious disease emergencies.
I think a lot of our ability to prepare and respond is threatened now in a way that we have not seen before.
As of today, the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, has been shut down.
Do you see it as a worthy cause, USAID?
I think that there's some worthy things, but overall, if you say what is the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good.
I'm Jennifer Nuzzo. I'm director of the Pandemic Center at the Brown University School of Public Health.
I'm Jesse Goodman. I'm an infectious disease physician currently at Georgetown University.
I'm Brooke Nichols. I'm an associate professor of global health at Boston University School of Public Health.
I actually started my career as an epidemiologist in New York City in the aftermath of September 11th. And I got to witness from that vantage point, first of all, what public health was at the time, which was a very bare bones enterprise, not at all equipped to handle those big emergencies, and saw the kind of really bipartisan determination to make sure that America was prepared for future emergencies.
I think the United States investment in global health over the last 20 years has been phenomenal.
I think things started to kind of erode around 2008 with the global economic downturn. We were trying to do more with less, and what happened was we wind up doing less with less. I think no one would look back on what happened with COVID and say, yeah, that went well. I think everyone has something to complain about.
I think there were many recommendations and some made by the scientific or public health community that then had to be changed, or in retrospect, they would have done things differently. And I think all of that together has stoked, anger and suspicion at a time when trust in all institutions is fairly low. And I think some people took advantage of that.
And I feel like what's happening right now is political leaders are trying to tap into the portion of the population that feels unduly frustrated, or just, duly frustrated in some instances, about those vaccine mandates as a justification for an attack on public health generally, an attack on vaccines generally, and they're trying to misapply that COVID consternation.
The United States has been a leader and has done an enormous amount of good, and it's been devastating to watch all of that crumble in a few months. I've been shocked at the pace at which we've sort of turned back the clock in terms of our progress against, treating, mitigating a lot of these different diseases.
The thing that I'm most worried about right now is the decimation of our health agencies from a workforce perspective. The, executive office within CDC now no longer has a single career government official. It is all staffed by political appointees. So if you don't want politicians making decisions regarding your health, guess what? That's what's happening right now.
Well, I would characterize what we've seen as disruption at many levels of a system that has made the United States a leader in both its public health preparedness and response, and in its innovation and innovative industries. We've seen what's been called moving the goalposts, where a vaccine manufacturer comes in and they agree with FDA on a whole plan of development and what the approval will be for, what population it will be for, so long as that studies show that that product is safe and effective. And yet what we've seen is those standards being met in some cases, but now under new leadership, the conditions of that have changed. And so that causes, companies to question or investors to question, should I make these hundreds of millions of dollars in investment up front to do this?
If someone stops taking their treatment today, let's say, and can't, for HIV treatment, antiretrovirals, and they can't take their medicine or don't have access for the next 3 to 4 years, they will be dead in 4 years' time when we've decided to restart a program. And what's important also to realize is that stopping a program is much easier than building it. The impact counter itself is really centered on the impact of direct service delivery. We know without any intervention what a baseline mortality rate is, let's say, of severe acute malnutrition. We know what the baseline mortality rate is of that 15%. We know that with intervention, that baseline mortality rate reduces to 1%. So it's really quite a simple approach, but we know what these interventions do. We know what the world looks like without them, and we know sort of the quantity that we're looking at. So we're able to use that to estimate fairly simply and directly what the impact is.
No, we are not going to save money by actions directed at CDC. We are going to spend more money as a result. Let me just give you one example. The United States is currently in the grips of the largest, deadliest measles outbreak we have had since the U.S. eliminated measles 25 years ago. Every single case of measles costs public health departments tens of thousands of dollars to try to respond to. The healthcare costs, the response costs. Measles is an extraordinarily costly disease that shouldn't be happening right now. We have the tools to prevent measles outbreaks. But efforts to undermine public health in the United States, from the federal level down to the restriction of information and assistance to state and local health departments, to the spreading of misinformation about the protective value of vaccines, is resulting in a very large, costly, deadly outbreak. And that's just one disease. We are seeing these trends repeat for many, many other diseases. So no, we are not going to save money.
I think the Trump administration's stated goal is America First. And I think a lot of the actions that have taken place have been done in the name of America First, but it's actually resulting in the polar opposite. That these actions that we are saying in the name of putting America first are actually going to put us way behind, and it's going to threaten the health and security of the United States.
I'm really worried about the scenario in which in the next 10 years, we have another deadly, outbreak or epidemic or pandemic that requires resources that are just simply not there or unable to be mobilized. And, that is deeply unfortunate given what we just lived through with COVID. In the beginning of COVID, I thought never again are we going to have to convince people that infectious disease threats are bad, that they pose threats to our health and national security, that we need to be ready for them, that being ready for them is the best way to preserve our lives and our livelihoods. Unfortunately, we clearly do have to make that case again.
I think what we're going to see is, instead of innovation with new and better vaccines, we're going to see that if the current trends continue, even without some massive upheaval of our current supplies, which I still think is possible, but if these trends continue, I think in 10 years we'll see the consequence that there wasn't investment in new ideas. I think the worst case scenarios is that we're very poorly prepared for a new pandemic or an outbreak or importation of infectious diseases. And the American people, who are used to being among the first to be protected and the safest in the world, won't be.
We'll be having to deal with the consequences of the pullback of this funding and the chaos around it. We'll be dealing with that for the next 20 to 40 years, because infections are lifelong. Like all the new infections that happen because people couldn't access treatment, they couldn't take their treatment every day, because a new baby was born with HIV, because treatment wasn't available to the mother or testing wasn't available to the mother. Those infections are lifelong, and we'll have to treat them lifelong, right? So it's such a short-sighted thing saying, oh, we're not going to spend money on this right now. We're going to spend so much more money on this later. Global health is also security. It's also national security. It's global security. So best case scenario, we tackle the same problems. We get on a path to really country ownership and making sure our funds are going through country governments so that if there are disruptions in funding, that at least the countries own all the mechanisms. And if they can pull other donors in or tax in a different way, at least the systems will stay instead of breaking apart.
Ultimately, public health is as much a bottom-up exercise as it is a top-down exercise. And while the top-down piece is broken right now, and it will take a lot of effort to try to fix, we have to not stop the important work of the bottom-up piece. Public health is an exercise that requires participation from multiple sectors. It can't be done without it. And the participation of multiple sectors absolutely enhances the impact, the effectiveness, and frankly, the acceptability of what public health does. So I think that is really key right now, and it doesn't have to wait to a new administration.
I am hopeful that people working together can provide information so that society as a whole makes better decisions, that we reverse these decisions about investing in science, that we restore full integrity to bodies like the regulatory agency and the ACIP, so that people can trust that they have the information and the expertise to make good decisions, and people can trust those decisions.
It really pains me to say that, we're going to have to touch the stove again in order to learn that it's hot. I hate to think that we are going to have to rediscover why these programs were necessary, what public health is, and why it's so important to the health pieces, prosperity of the country. We're going to see it. It's going to come back. My hope, though, is that we can bring it back before we lose too many American lives.